Have you ever trusted someone, only to realize much later that they were watching you the entire time? Not in a creepy way, but in a calm, silent, calculating way. Observing every word you said, every action, every inconsistency. Sounds intense, right? But what if I told you that person might have been a Libra? We always hear that Libras are the peacemakers, the charming ones, the diplomats of the Zodiac. And it's true. They're warm. They're patient. They hate conflict. But here's the shock most people miss: Libras are not harmless. Behind that soft voice is a mind that's always planning. Behind that gentle smile is a heart that knows exactly when to protect itself. Today, I'm going to show you a side of Libra that few people ever talk about. The side that's quietly powerful, strategically kind, and, when necessary, absolutely dangerous. Because Libras don't explode when they're hurt. They transform into someone you never expected. So stay with me. What you're about to discover might just change how you see not only Libras, but also the way people use kindness as strength. And if you're curious about understanding human behavior, emotions, and the secrets people hide behind their smiles, hit that subscribe button. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Now, let's begin. When you meet a Libra, you often feel a sense of peace. Their smile is gentle. Their voice, calm. Their presence makes you feel safe, like you're talking to someone who truly understands you. It's easy to assume that this softness means vulnerability, that their kindness is something you can take for granted. But that's where most people misunderstand Libras. Their kindness isn't a weakness. It's a strategy. A conscious choice to maintain balance not just around them, but within them. Think about it. In a world that constantly tests our patience, choosing to remain calm is not easy. Yet Libras do this every single day. They use kindness like a tool. It helps them stabilize their emotions, and it keeps others at ease. But here's the twist: while you're getting comfortable, they're watching. Silently. Carefully. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that protects their energy. A Libra can sit through a long conversation, nodding, smiling, letting you speak freely, while mentally noting every inconsistency in your story. They're not planning revenge. They're building clarity. Imagine you're having coffee with a Libra friend. You're venting about your life, your frustrations, your dreams. They listen. They let you finish. You feel heard, safe. But what you don't realize is that they've just learned how you handle pressure, how you treat others, how honest you're being with yourself. And if one day you act out of line, they'll remember everything. Because for a Libra, listening isn't just kindness. It's data gathering. And that's where the next layer of their power begins to unfold. Libras are experts at emotional mirroring. When you're excited, they reflect your energy. When you're sad, they soften their tone. When you're angry, they remain calm to help you regulate. This isn't accidental. It's how they make people feel safe. But behind that reflection, they're observing who you really are. They use empathy as a window, not a wall. Their mirroring builds trust. But it also reveals the truth. Your truth. In relationships, this skill makes them seem like the perfect partner. They understand you, even when you can't explain yourself. But be careful. Because if you mistake their understanding for naivety, you'll eventually realize they've been 2 steps ahead all along. And by then, their silence will become louder than any words they've ever said. Have you ever wondered why Libras rarely confront problems directly? It's because they don't need to. Their silence does the work for them. Picture this: after weeks of someone taking advantage of their patience, ignoring their boundaries, maybe even lying to them, the Libra doesn't explode. They don't argue. They withdraw. Slowly. Quietly. Without explanation. And that silence? It forces the other person to reflect. It creates discomfort. Doubt. Sometimes even guilt. Libras use silence like a mirror. They let you face yourself. It's easy to assume silence means indifference. But for Libras, silence is a psychological choice. It's not avoiding conflict. It's controlling it. They know that arguing drains their energy. So instead, they step back. Create distance. And in that space, people often realize the gravity of what they've done. It's a subtle yet powerful way of protecting their peace. But here's something most people overlook: when a Libra forgives you, it doesn't mean they've reset the relationship. Forgiveness is a gift, not an invitation to repeat old patterns. They can smile at you, laugh with you, even act like nothing happened. But inside, something has shifted. Their trust is no longer the same. They may not say it, but you'll feel it. Conversations become shorter. Their warmth feels a little more guarded. They're still kind. But their heart? It's standing behind invisible walls now. Think about your own life. Have you ever had someone who seemed to pull away quietly, without warning? Who didn't argue, but simply disappeared emotionally? Maybe they were a Libra. Or maybe they were someone embodying that energy. Libras don't always announce when they're done. They simply are. Here's the advice I'd give if you're close to a Libra: never mistake their patience for endless tolerance. Every act of forgiveness is a silent calculation. And every conversation is quietly shaping how they see you. If you respect their energy, they'll give you loyalty few people can offer. But if you repeatedly test their peace, they'll leave, long before you realize what you've lost. That's the paradox of Libra. They seek peace, but they're willing to protect it, even if it means losing you. So next time you're with someone who seems endlessly patient, endlessly kind, ask yourself a simple question: are they forgiving you? Or are they observing you? Because when it comes to Libras, kindness isn't a reaction. It's a decision. Have you ever noticed how long a Libra can wait? How much they can tolerate without saying a word? It feels endless sometimes. They're patient when you make mistakes. They're calm when others would walk away. It's easy to believe they'll always stay. But that's the first mistake people make. What looks like infinite patience is actually a slow psychological test. A quiet countdown. Every second chance, every ignored boundary, every small disrespect, it's all being counted. You just can't see the scoreboard. And when the countdown ends, there's no explosion. No dramatic goodbye. Libras don't need that. They simply disconnect. Completely. Emotionally. Physically. Mentally. They leave not with anger, but with peace. You might wake up one morning and realize you've been erased. Not to punish you, but to protect themselves. It's terrifying in its finality. One day you're part of their life. The next, you're a stranger. I've seen people beg for explanations. Plead for one more chance. But when a Libra is done, they're done. Not because they stopped caring, but because they cared too long. They stayed too long. And now, leaving isn't a choice. It's a necessity. The door doesn't slam shut. It closes silently. And when it does, nothing can open it again. But what's even more shocking is how guiltless they feel once that door closes. You might think they'd regret leaving, that they'd carry the weight of walking away. But the truth is, they don't. Libras carry guilt for a long time. They second-guess themselves. They replay conversations. They wonder if they gave too little. But once their limit is reached, something shifts inside them. It's like a switch flipping. Suddenly, all the guilt disappears. They've done the work. They've tried. And now, they owe themselves peace. Not explanations. I remember a client once telling me, I stayed kind until it hurt me. And when I finally walked away, I didn't feel sad. I felt free. That's Libra energy. People think they'll break down after leaving. Instead, they flourish. Because they're not leaving you to punish you. They're leaving to heal themselves. And here's where the paradox deepens. Libras seem indecisive, right? They ask for advice. They weigh pros and cons endlessly. They hesitate before every major step. From the outside, it looks like confusion, doubt, fear. But it's none of those things. It's precision. Libras aren't unsure. They're careful. Every decision is analyzed in silence. Every possible outcome considered. What seems like hesitation is strategy. When they finally choose, that choice is unshakable. People try to change their minds after the fact. They apologize. They promise to do better. But it's already too late. Once a Libra decides to end a relationship, to cut contact, to move forward without you, there's no going back. You weren't there for the months they spent analyzing your actions. You weren't there for the silent nights they debated their loyalty. You didn't see the battle. But you'll feel the verdict. And that's why Libras can appear so cold when they leave. Not because they are. But because, emotionally, they've already left long before you notice. Their silence after a decision isn't an invitation to chase them. It's confirmation that they're already gone. I often tell people, never try to convince a Libra after they've chosen peace over your presence. That decision wasn't made today. It was made months ago, in the quiet of their heart. While you thought everything was fine. And perhaps the most misunderstood part of Libra is their diplomacy. People adore this side of them. The way they mediate conflicts. How they soften tensions in a group. They're the peacemakers in every circle. They listen to both sides. They offer compromises. They make you feel heard. It's a gift, yes. But it's also a burden. Because while Libras are keeping everyone else at peace, they're carrying the weight of those emotions. The pressure to stay neutral. The pressure to stay fair. The pressure to never upset anyone. And over time, that weight becomes too heavy. They start to notice who values their efforts, and who takes them for granted. And when that realization hits, the mask of diplomacy falls. One day, the Libra who always kept things calm will stop. They'll stop mediating. Stop softening their words. Stop pretending they're okay. And when that happens, their honesty will feel sharp. Not because they're cruel, but because you've never heard them speak their real truth before. I've seen friendships end when a Libra finally stops being diplomatic. Romantic partners shocked when soft words become firm boundaries. It's not sudden. It's not dramatic. It's just done. Libras aren't interested in pleasing everyone forever. They protect your peace until it costs them theirs. And then, the balance tips. Not in anger. In clarity. So if you're close to a Libra, ask yourself, are you listening when they're quiet? Are you respecting their efforts before they withdraw them? Because when they stop being the peacemaker, it means they're choosing themselves. And that's a choice they don't undo. But don't think this is where it ends. We're only halfway through understanding the complexity of Libra energy. Because what comes next reveals the quiet tactics Libras use to protect themselves when kindness is no longer enough. And trust me, the last 3 insights? They will change everything you thought you knew about Libra hearts. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to always know the perfect moment to speak? To act, to leave? Like they've been quietly watching from the sidelines, waiting for just the right second. That's Libra. Their power isn't in loud reactions. It's in silent calculations. While others are busy speaking, Libra is observing, studying, reading every small movement you make. How you speak when you're nervous. How you treat people when no one's watching. How your words shift when you're hiding something. They store all that, quietly. And when the time is right, they act. Not in anger. Not to hurt. But with perfect timing. Imagine arguing with a Libra. You think you're winning. You think they're unsure, hesitating, retreating. Then suddenly, they speak one sentence. Calm. Direct. Precise. And it shatters your entire argument. That's not coincidence. That's their strategy. They don't react to provoke. They respond to end things. This ability makes them unpredictable. You think you know them. But what you see is only the version they allow you to see. The truth? It's stored inside until needed. And once it's time, they move like someone who's been planning all along. That's the moment when people realize Libra was never following the conversation. They were leading it, silently. And when they do seek revenge, and yes, sometimes they do, it never looks like revenge. Libras don't explode. They don't burn bridges with noise. They dismantle them quietly, piece by piece. You might not even notice until the bridge is completely gone. They remove their support from your life. Withdraw their care. They say what needs to be said at the worst moment for you. But the best moment for balance. Not out of spite. But because, to them, restoring justice matters more than your comfort. Their revenge feels cold. Not because they're cruel. But because it's precise. Logical. Calculated. They don't want to hurt you emotionally. They want to correct the imbalance. If your betrayal took their peace, then their silence. Their distance, their truth, is the price they believe you owe. And once a Libra believes someone deserves that consequence, nothing can change their mind. No apology will reach them. No explanation will open the door. They become unreachable, not out of anger, but out of principle. What's even harder for people to understand is that Libras forgive easily. They really do. You apologize. You explain. They listen. They might even smile. And just like that, it seems like everything's okay again. But it's not. Not really. Forgiveness is easy for them. But trust? Trust never returns the same way. Have you ever had someone in your life who forgave you, yet something felt different afterward? Conversations that felt lighter before now feel distant. Their eyes don't shine the same way when you speak. Their tone has softened, but their heart has hardened. That's Libra energy. They can stand next to you, laugh with you, act as if the past never happened. But behind that warmth, a door has quietly closed. They won't tell you. They won't announce it. But you'll feel it, in the silence between words. This is where many people make a mistake. They think forgiveness means reset. That everything is fine. But with Libra, forgiveness is a gift. Not a restoration. You're back in their life, but not in the same space. And most of the time, you'll never know exactly when the shift happened. But once it does, it's permanent. You're still in their world, but no longer in their heart the same way. That's why Libras are so hard to control. Because their power isn't external. It's internal. You think you have influence over them. But once trust breaks, you lose access to their vulnerability. To their emotions. To their soul. And yet, they'll smile, making you believe nothing changed. It's their quiet way of reclaiming power without confrontation. And then comes the part people fear most. Libra's ability to destroy with the truth. Not with screaming. Not with accusations, but with simple, undeniable honesty. Imagine someone looking at you, with complete calm, and telling you the one thing you're afraid to hear. Not in anger. Not to hurt you. But simply because it's true. That's how Libras win arguments without raising their voice. Their truth slices through all your defenses because it's said so gently, yet lands so painfully. Their charm makes the truth feel safe. But the truth itself forces you to confront parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Libras don't enjoy hurting people. They want growth. They want balance. But sometimes, the only way to restore balance is to hold up the mirror. And Libras hold it steady, without judgment, without mercy. You're left standing there, looking at your own flaws, your own mistakes, and realizing you can't deny what they said. The worst part? They'll still smile as they say it. Not because they're being cruel, but because, for them, honesty isn't punishment. It's clarity. They believe you deserve the truth, whether or not you're ready for it. I've seen people crumble under this. Friends, lovers, colleagues. Not because Libra attacked them, but because Libra revealed them. And revelation can feel like destruction when you're not ready to face yourself. This is the power of a Libra's calm voice. Their quiet confidence. Their ability to speak softly, but deliver words that shake your soul. And once they speak that truth, there's no more argument. No more debate. You're left not with their opinion, but with your own reflection. Now, you might be thinking this is the peak of their complexity, that we've seen the deepest side of Libra already. But you'd be wrong. Because the next part of this journey, the final 3 insights about Libra's heart, will reveal something even more unsettling. The side of them few people ever witness. And once you understand it, you'll never see Libras the same way again. There's something about Libras most people never see. It's hidden behind their calm eyes and soft voice. But if you look closely, you'll notice it. Libras know how to influence people without making it obvious. Not because they're manipulative in a cruel way, but because they understand human nature better than most. They listen when you speak. They notice the things you avoid saying. They feel the fear behind your words. And they use that knowledge like a quiet guide in conversations. Think about a time you felt understood by someone without explaining yourself. That person just knew what you needed. That's how Libras work. They gently lead you to conclusions without force. They suggest. They ask simple questions. They nod at the right time. And somehow, you think the idea was yours all along. But it wasn't. It was Libra, guiding you without you realizing. This isn't about control. Not for Libras. It's about protection. Keeping peace. Avoiding conflict. They use influence to maintain balance. But when someone betrays them, when they feel threatened, this quiet power becomes a defense. They stop guiding softly and start protecting firmly. And the scary part? You'll rarely know when that shift happens. Because their moves are so smooth, you never realize you've been emotionally shut out until it's too late. They'll still smile. Still listen. But their heart isn't open anymore. Their mind is working, but their soul has retreated. This hidden skill is what makes Libras so difficult to reach when they decide to close the door. Their emotional walls are built invisibly, yet they're stronger than steel. And here's where the illusion breaks. Most people see Libras as fragile, soft, emotionally delicate. You meet a Libra, and you think they need protection. Their kindness, their sensitivity, their grace, it makes you want to protect them. But what you don't see is the emotional fortress behind that gentle exterior. Libras are not fragile. They're lethal. Not in an aggressive way, but in how silently they disconnect when hurt. When betrayed, Libras don't scream. They don't throw words. They vanish. Emotionally. spiritually, completely. And that silence cuts deeper than any fight ever could. People who hurt a Libra often say the same thing. I didn't realize they were done until they were already gone. That's the danger. Libras don't warn you. They don't give a final speech. They quietly build emotional walls you can't climb. And once that wall is up, it's permanent. This emotional disappearance is their strongest defense. It protects their heart from further pain. It shields their peace. And by the time you notice, you're already outside, wondering how you got there. That's why understanding a Libra's quiet boundaries is so important. If you wait until they go silent, you've already lost them. Respect their patience before it runs out. Value their openness before they start closing doors. Because when Libras protect themselves emotionally, there's no key, no map, no way back in. Now let's talk about conflict. Libras hate conflict, right? They avoid it. They smooth things over. They listen to both sides. But here's the truth most people miss. When you push a Libra too far, when you disrespect their peace over and over again, something inside them shifts. They no longer avoid the fight. They make you face it. But they don't fight the way you expect. Libras won't shout or accuse. Instead, they become a mirror. They reflect your actions back at you. Calmly. Clearly. Brutally. Suddenly, you're forced to look at yourself. To see how your choices, your words, your mistakes, have led to this moment. They don't want to hurt you. They want you to realize what you've done. And trust me, that's not an easy lesson to face. Their honesty feels like punishment. But it's not. It's correction. And it's effective. Because nothing breaks a person faster than being forced to see their own reflection through someone else's eyes. Especially someone they thought would always protect them. When Libras reach this point, it's not about revenge. It's about restoring balance. They won't attack your character. They'll simply show you who you've become. And then, they'll step back, giving you space to choose who you want to be next. I've seen people change because of this. Not because Libra demanded it, but because they made people face the reality they were running from. That's the power of a Libra's confrontation. It's silent. It's sharp. And it leaves you standing in front of your own truth. And perhaps the most misunderstood thing about Libras is their kindness. You see, Libras are warm to everyone. They treat people fairly. They believe in giving chances. They see the good in others, even when it's hidden. But don't mistake that warmth for blindness. Libras remember everything. Every betrayal. Every lie. Every broken promise. They don't confront you right away. They don't hold obvious grudges. But they keep a mental list. A silent record of who respected them and who didn't. They might still smile. They might still act kind. But behind that smile, they've already adjusted their distance. The people who hurt them get moved to the edge of their world. Slowly. Quietly. Libras don't announce when they're done. They just are. And once you're on that list, it's almost impossible to get off. Not because they're punishing you, but because they're protecting themselves. That's why understanding a Libra's boundaries matters. If they've stopped sharing their heart with you, stopped opening up, stopped letting you see their vulnerable side, you're already on that list. And there's no formal goodbye. Just silence where trust used to be. All these hidden layers, all these quiet shifts, they're why Libras are so hard to understand. So hard to reach once you've crossed a line. Their defense mechanisms are not loud. They're subtle. But once activated, they're unbreakable. And yet, what comes next in this journey will reveal the deepest truths. The final 3 insights are not just shocking. They are the most controversial, the most misunderstood, And once you hear them, you'll never see Libras the same way again. There's something Libras do that most people never realize until it's too late. They can win with love, but destroy you with indifference. When a Libra cares about you, they give you their heart. They listen. They support. They love in a way that feels soft but powerful. Their kindness makes you feel safe. Their love feels healing. But when you break their trust, when you push them past that invisible boundary, something shifts. Something deep. Something final. They stop caring. Not in anger. Not with loud words. But with quiet indifference. And that indifference is brutal. Because suddenly, the person who once cared about every small detail in your life no longer responds. The messages slow down. Then they stop. The warmth in their voice fades. Their eyes stop reflecting your emotions. You realize they've turned off their connection to you. Not to punish you, but because, to them, the emotional bond is no longer safe. Have you ever felt that? The silence that hurts more than any argument? That's a Libra's final wall. When they become indifferent, it means their love has transformed into self-protection. You can apologize. You can explain. You can try to reach them. But their heart isn't listening anymore. And they won't explain why. Because to them, the explanation is unnecessary. They gave you enough chances before. That's why indifference, from a Libra, is the most painful response of all. And then, there's something even more powerful. Something people almost always misunderstand. Libras don't raise their voices. They don't scream when they're hurt. Instead, they go silent. But this silence isn't empty. It's heavy. It's their final message. You'll notice the silence first in small moments. A delayed reply. A shorter conversation. The absence of shared details they once gave freely. Then, the silence grows. Days pass. Weeks. And suddenly, you realize the relationship isn't breaking. It's already broken. Their silence isn't coldness. It's clarity. A decision made without words. And in that silence, you'll feel the weight of every choice you made. Every moment you ignored their boundaries. Every time you dismissed their quiet requests for respect. You'll hear it all in their silence. People try to break that silence with apologies. With promises. With explanations. But Libra's silence isn't something you can interrupt. It's not anger waiting to be soothed. It's peace being reclaimed. I've seen people fall apart after a Libra chose silence. Not because they missed the conversations, but because they missed the connection. And when Libra chooses to protect that connection by ending it, no words will bring it back. Because silence, for Libra, isn't weakness. It's power. It's their final decision. And it's irreversible. Now maybe you're thinking, all of this sounds so heavy. So serious. But here's the truth. Libras don't want to hurt anyone. They crave peace. They value connection. They want harmony in every relationship. But they've learned something the hard way: peace cannot exist without boundaries. And sometimes, the strongest boundary is silence. So if you're lucky enough to have a Libra in your life, cherish them. Respect their patience. Value their kindness. Not because they'll punish you if you don't. But because if they choose silence, it means you've already lost them. And that's something you won't realize until the silence fills everything. So now, maybe you're wondering, have you ever felt that silence? Have you ever been on the receiving end of a Libra's quiet goodbye? Or maybe, you've been the one who chose silence to protect your peace. Either way, I hope this made you think. Because Libras teach us a powerful lesson: kindness is a choice. And sometimes, silence is the most loving thing we can give ourselves. If you saw yourself in today's story, if any of this felt real to you, take a moment. reflect. And if you feel like it, share your story in the comments below. I read them all. And don't forget to subscribe. If you want more insights like this, more deep dives into human nature, into the quiet power of emotional intelligence, hit that subscribe button. Like this video if it made you feel something. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because this is just one side of the Libra story. There's so much more to explore. And I'll see you in the next video.